Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You're listening to First Fossil. Hello and welcome to First Fossil, a show where we learn together how to take that first fossil toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and today's special guest is a singer. He is a mental health counselor, and he actually started his own record label during a whole pandemic. So you got to hear from this guy. Without further ado, please welcome Jay Emanuel. How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. Everything is going well today. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. So tell me how you've been. How was it at the time of this recording? We just finished Christmas. So I want to know how your Christmas was, if you had a lot of food, if you even got to celebrate. What happened?
So I didn't really get to celebrate. I was under the weather. So I did have my wife. So I was able to at least wake up that morning, Christmas morning, and tell my wife Merry Christmas. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, I didn't get to enjoy the festivities, and my family, we usually do themes and things like that and just have fun. Missed out on it this year, but I was stumped a little bit, but it's okay. I think I'll be all right.
Well, you sound healthy, so we'll have to. I'm glad that you at least sound healthy. You sound good, despite having not been able to celebrate due to being under the weather for Christmas.
Yeah, I think it's all right though. I'm just grateful. As always. I'm learning to be grateful. I think this taught me, like in the time of not being able to celebrate with family, to be grateful. Be grateful for every moment. Like, don't ever take any moment for granted.
Yeah, I love that. So why don't you go ahead, tell the people about yourself. I already gave them a little introduction, but explain it from your perspective. Who are you? What do you do? What are you about?
Wow, thank you. Let's see. Where do I start? I was born in Alabama. No, I was playing.
Yes.
I am Joshua Austin, but I go by Jay Emanuel. No, let me stop playing. But I love that I get to just be myself sometimes, right? Is that okay?
That's exactly what I expect from you. Just be yourself.
Yes. But yes, the name Jay Emanuel Records was created in 2020. It was at a time where like I had already been just traveling and singing with the name Jay Emanuel. That it came from my original biological name. It's Joshua Emanuel Austin. And I thought to myself when I was a young teenager, I said I needed something that represented who I was. And so I just put together the abbreviations of my name and I was able to get Jay Emanuel. And so I felt so proud about it. And I just wanted to grow better as an artist, different things. So that was the first thing I did, was to make sure if I was going to be anything, I had a name. Because, you know, once you know your name, you feel like you have a little bit more confidence in a name, just different things that I have ventured into. I've been in mental health for almost 5 years now, predicated off of my childhood, where I dealt with a lot of traumas of not feeling, I felt inadequate, as they say. And I felt like I was troubled in my mind mentally. And in today's time, a lot of people are either dealing with that on another spectrum of either alcoholism or dealing with emotional traumas and depression. So at a young age, I dealt with a lot of that. So I had an inspiration to get into that. And that's how I started doing mental health. But I also have a passion for children because what happened to me as a child. So I actually work with children as well. And I do music therapy. And I work at an after school program called Black Child Development. And we help children with literacy skills. And so everything has come together to make me who I am as the artist. I've released 3 singles. And that's pretty much where like I got my start to becoming Jay Manuel. And now a lot of great things have happened since then.
That's amazing. Everything that you just said, I think that's really innovative. I love how you came up with your artist name. I would have never thought to do that, but it's cool. It has swagger. It speaks a lot to your I don't know, you're a very fun person. So I really like your artist name as Jay Manuel. So that's super cool. And then of course you do like mental health stuff and that's something that I'm actually very passionate about with music and mental health and how they go together. So I love that you've found a way to try to put those two worlds together and how you step out into the world with your label and how people just know you as an artist. I think that's unique for you. So that's really, really cool. So I guess my question for you then is what do you consider to be a crucial first fossil experience in your life? And I know we have tons that most of us can pick from, but what for you would be something that you think you learned a lot from having taken that step that you would want other people to take those lessons for their own steps that they want to take?
That's a good question. And to answer that, home, I hope I give you the best answer, as they would say. For me, what motivated me to make that step is I understood that everything I went through had to happen, first off. And when you go through what you went through, a lot of people will hold you to that stigma that you're never going to have an ability to overcome your literacy issues. And like my mother used to do my homework. And so I think I got so used to her doing that, of me thinking I wasn't going to be capable of being something. I think that goes into furthering, even in when you see yourself and your value, you're only as good as what people do for you. And I realized I had to change that. I had to learn to be able to stand up for myself and believe in I can be more than just a singer or somebody who has an inadequacy. I had to learn that, and still to this day, it's just amazing on what I did to get out of that funk. And to know now that just finally making a decision, it happened recently when I was like maybe 28, 29. I had finally moved out of my mom's house, said I no longer want to be the stigma that everybody, that's the first move I made. I realized I had to put myself in a different environment that was scary, meaning outside of comfortability for me. You know what I mean? So that helped me.
How did you get to that mental state where you finally made the decision to move out of the house? Was this something that you were thinking about just for a few months? Was this something that was building up over your 20s and it just kind of hit you heavy by the time you got to your late 20s? Like,
I had a saving grace, like a ram in the bush. I had a good friend that said, listen, me and my mom had probably had like a huge argument over something, money. And I'm just like, why am I arguing with my mom? It's really, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just something real simple as that. But then my friends telling them my frustrations, really exposing to them why I haven't really left, was fear of feeling like the one person that helped me, I didn't want to leave them. So my friend said, listen, if you leave now and I give you an opportunity to live with me, promise me that you won't go back and you'll trust God and what's going on, no matter what it looks like. And that's when I left. I had someone put their hand out and pulled me up.
Wow. Wow. So did he recognized it before you, well, you kind of vocalized that you were afraid, but was it something that just he recognized and he spoke up first, or you were like
He
confiding in him?
recognized the pain. He recognized the pain of being a man, suffering like inwardly, like knowing that I have an ability, but also an insecurity. And most men don't admit it that deal with it. But a lot of men have an insecurity of what the unknown, or feeling like they're not intelligent enough to handle something so great as living on your own. Because living on your own requires at every cost, you have to make sure you can stay out there on your own. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If you're doing without doing something illegal, but like you're constantly answering to bill collectors, I mean, all those fears, you know. And I think and I hate to say it, most Black men stay home for a long time because their mothers are afraid their sons won't feel capable enough of handling themselves. Like they coddle boys more nowadays in this time instead of women. Like women are now being, I don't want to say forced, but more encouraged to leave the home when they're 18. Men don't leave until they get ready because the mother knows that that's not how they're being groomed anymore to leave, because of how the system has failed us as young Black men. Of only opportunities we're really going to be given is sports, rapper, or selling drugs, or going to the army. All the other ones, you have to go take them and earn them, like college educations, becoming a doctor, working on a business, affiliate, you know, all the new stuff they have, you know. It takes a lot of time and patience to learn it. So,
Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because, you know, those who have listened to my podcast for a while, you guys know that I've hit on topics that deal with what's going on in America, especially with the BLM movement and how it's highlighting a lot of things that have already been a problem. Uh, but for some reason, we've had this systemic structure to turn blind eyes. And I've been wanting to have those hard conversations regarding those topics and the understanding of what Black men go through from that perspective. And yet you're you entered into the music industry, which for some people would say, oh, so you basically like gave into the Black man stereotype. Like you just, that's what people expect Black men to do, Black women to do. So can you elaborate more on what you explained about that switching? I don't even think I would have put it in those words, but I agree with you in that sense of women seem to be more empowered now, especially I would say in the Black community. I don't want to speak on the white community. That's there's a whole other system going on over there. But for the Black community, for Black men, for young Black women, a lot of Black men staying home longer, having that fear to leave the home and then ending up in these pockets of stereotypes that they're often placed in. And then being a Black man who entered into a music industry, how did you decide that? How did you process that reality and not feel like you caved into what was expected based on the stereotypes? Does that make sense?
no, it's a good question. Honestly, I had to understand that if you can't beat them, you join them, right?
Mm.
It's a mentality of the misfortune of being an African American male or a Black male, however you want to look at it in America. You have to take what is given to you, but expound on it and make no excuses. And I learned recently that there's always opportunity out there. it's just the misfortune that the world was set up for, where a lot of people don't address that. The reason most women try to protect their sons in this day and time in the 80s and 90s, because a lot of fathers went to jail in the 70s and 80s. So you had single parent homes because the fathers went to jail for selling dope or crack cocaine. So mothers realized that, like, the only way I can at least slow it down, I'll give my son more of a nurturing side, because my husband or his father is no longer here to give him what it looks like to go out and live in a world as a Black man. So the anger came from a place for a lot. I feel like for me is that my mother was protecting me from a world that I know I'll never be respected in. And it grows this harboring anger at the same time, an insecurity of, where do I place myself? You know what I'm saying? So you spend a lot of your years trying to figure out what's your placement. So you end up going to what you know and how to survive. So music became a thing of where, like, it wasn't I just because I wanted to do it in the beginning. Now I want to do it. But it became a thing of where, like, this is what I know. So a lot of times Black men do what they feel like they know.
Yeah.
And to survive, to take care of their families, because we were designed to provide, protect, and profess. So we only naturally do what the brain is taught to do. Like, there's different lobes within the brain that tells you that you need to survive, or that you are above, you're now living above the poverty mentality. And so a lot of Black men don't make it out of those mentalities. So they just stay where they know their security is. So yeah, even if they are living at home with mom, they're still acting out the behaviors of the frustration of being what they want us to be. So a lot of us just become athletes to fulfill a promise to our mothers not to be something else, you know, or to be on the streets. You know what I mean? And because it still happens.
Right.
What's crazy is it's gonna happen regardless, because of the misfortune of homing and gentrification and a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? I can't admit that I no longer want to try to blame the Europeans, as they say, or a white man for what has been done to me. But I do understand that the system hasn't been changed yet to accommodate me or anybody of brown or Black, you know, any person of color.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question how you wanted it, but was that a better explanation for you?
Yeah, that was very helpful. So then this step to leave home, you're now pursuing music. Is this what you decided? Did you start pursuing music once you left? Like the
I
second?
pursued it more, but also pursued my independence. So I went and actually tried to find real job, different things like that. But music was always my heart. Like, I'd always been singing. I was still performing, going to churches, different things like that. But that was all I was doing. I wasn't trying to really pursue how to understand what to do to expound on becoming a man. So I was a grown man still thinking like a boy, because I didn't have any responsibilities. I just had me.
Yeah. Wow. So fast forward to you're now that step has somehow gotten you to a space where you felt confident to start a record label during a pandemic.
Oh yeah. And that, because I was chasing the music dream and nothing was ever like happening the right way. Like, I would try to ask people to let me do a feature with them, try to do a concert or working on a new song. And I felt like my music was like missing its time because music is forever changing, right? So you feel like you're behind with the times of music, but then you tell yourself, like, you know, God gave you this song. So who is the song for? Who do you market to? So you'll spend a lot of your money trying to get a record label to see you. And then you find out now that the music game has changed is that you have to put out great content and people will come find you. The pandemic was a blessing in disguise for a lot of people as myself to say, I can bet on myself. I'd rather go out here and bet on myself, I'd rather make a couple $1,000s than a record label give me $10 million. And then I'm in debt to them $20 million because of how the system works with interest. You know, and I can live my life as a thousandaire and be happy, or if God ever elevates me, and when he does, because he will, of me being faithful to my sound. And a lot of people are waking up now and saying, I no longer have to be their gigapet or their puppet.
Mm.
Gigapet,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was something I had as a kid. I'm telling my age.
I had a gigapet too, so throwbacks.
So, you know, it's really unfortunate, but it's a blessing, you know, like I think the only downfall to it is you do have to be patient enough with yourself, long enough to know that don't ever give in to whatever resource they're trying to give you unless it's going to benefit you. So I realized I get to work for myself. I can become an LLC, learn about business, and make something for myself to where somebody will recognize who I am and invest in me. And when you put a lot of people don't teach their children business, but the way that the world is set up right now is if you set up an LLC or a business or of any kind, the government is looking to fund businesses, especially minority or Black businesses in the time that we're in right now, because they understand that what is going to happen is a shift change in wealth. And they know they can't do it without us anymore. You know, that's me being my transparent moment with you. So if anybody's listening, when they do listen to this podcast, they'll know that like the wealth shift is happening right before our eyes. And don't be discouraged because you only got 10 people that's following you on your Spotify, on your music page, or if you only have like this, that, and the third. Show the government that you have what they're looking for. They want to give us money now. Yeah. You no longer have to get scammed and taking loans from record labels, distribution deals, having to make YouTube, worried about how many views they're going to give you. You don't have to worry about none of that. Yeah. Just put yourself in a position to be heard, and the government will give you the money to promote yourself. So you can use your own platform, which is now Instagrams, which YouTube is good, but what is it? Snapchat, creating your own app, whatever it may be. Going on Facebook, creating your own group, like email group, things like that, going in Zoom, whatever you want to do. Like everybody is learning how to take advantage of the internet. The internet originally was intended for the FBI and CIA in ways to find intel on people. Now it is used for people to be able to spread who they are around the entire world. So don't give up. If I don't say anything else about why I created my record label, I learned one thing. You now get to be your own boss. And nobody's going to tell you that. That's the reason they're having such an uproar right now with people working. It's because people finally woke up and said, I'd rather make $15,000 living at home and surviving that way than to go stand at McDonald's for 80 hours a week, every 2 weeks, and only make $12,000 a year and pay taxes to somebody else. Yep. I got out of the whole middleman, just paid taxes to the government. Yep. That's it. Yep. You know, but they don't teach us the game like that because it does require patience. So that's the reason I started my record label, because it's going to also put me in a position to be a blessing to people. Once I learn more about how it works with the government and how they want to get money and how they want to invest in businesses, I'm going to go teach other people how to make themselves a brand, an investment, not be used by record labels or used by people or getting scammed like by the banks. Because I feel like the bank is the biggest scam ever. Once the bank gets you to buy a house, if you ain't got 100,000 already in your pocket, they got you for 30 years. Unless you get lucky and hit the lottery, one of your children play in the NBA, one of your children are an entertainer, and they got number one hits after number one hits, working so hard to get all of it. The government knows they have you cornered if you make any decisions to borrow anything. The borrowing system was never created for rich people. It was created for poor people. And rich people realize if you create a system to where they're always borrowing, they'll never find out how they can be rich. So I know that was a lot, but I'm learning about just being a business and why I want to own a company. My company is set up to be a bigger brand than myself, not just music, but empowering people. Yeah.
I love that. So for that listener who is scared, they're in that position, they are petrified because the comfort in the coddling has left them worried that without it, they're not going to make it.
Right.
What do you say to that person who's sitting there trying to decide whether they can survive if they were to finally step out, whatever that coddling system is for them? How would you encourage them to take their first step?
How would I encourage them to take their first step? Everybody doesn't have a situation like I had where somebody put their hand out and reached back to help me. But I will say, never be afraid to share where you are with someone, because they might have the words, or they might have the lending hand, or they might have the resources to get you out of your funk.
Yes.
To get you out of the place that you're in.
Yeah. That's really good advice though, because I think a lot of us grow up afraid to say anything, to admit that we're either scared, we're afraid to admit that we definitely don't have the tools, the answers, and we're at an age where we're supposed to have figured it out, and we just don't feel ready. And I know that pressure on Black men, Black and brown men specifically, has been heavy, and it's painful to watch. You know, some of my really good guy friends who are men of color, listening to them throughout their 20s specifically, especially in their 20s when we're about to graduate college or whatever, and they're like, "Man, I feel like it doesn't matter how much education I get, I don't feel like I'm the man that I've been trying to be this whole time. Like I can't, there's no degree to teach me this stuff. And I'm scared. I'm scared of who am I on the other side of my mom's house? Who am I on the other side of graduation? Who am I on the other side of this job that I've had since I was 18? Who am I? I literally don't know. And I feel like I'm faking it until maybe something clicks.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm fishing. I'm swimming. There's nothing to hold on to, but I have to pretend like there is. That's heartbreaking.
It's our whole identity. Like everything, it's nothing against any other race. It's just we've spent our entirety since either already being here as Native Americans or as slaves that came from different parts of the world. We'll spend our entire lives understanding that our family depends on us. So we've never had a chance to say, what can I do to better myself for me? Everything that's predicated, if you actually talk to any person, it could be every male, right? No matter if Black or white, but I know as what we're speaking about right now, men of color, Black or brown, is that a lot of things that we're doing is predicated on, I gotta get a degree, or I gotta make sure I got great stats at the basketball game. I gotta have the best song in the world because it depends on my family eating. But it never has once occurred to people that how is it gonna make me happy? And what we had to learn to do is say, if the people around me are happy, I'm happy. Instead of it actually being a thing where the man gets to say, does this truly make me happy? Not
Mm.
saying we're not happy. I think it's just to the levity of, you look at life and say, every man you look at has had to say, this is the reason I'm doing it. Like you always hear him say, I want to thank my mama. Like if you're a musician or a singer,
Yep.
when you're an athlete, all you hear is, man, I did this for my family, so my kids will have to struggle. I'm building generational wealth. Da 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 da. Like, you know, it's gonna be one or two things, and it's not like we're upset about it. I'm just learning that that is what's been our foundation, and when
Yeah.
we feel like we don't have that, you mess with us mentally and emotionally, and a lot of those traumas are built in those moments where we're not a matter. I heard Chris Rock say it. A lot of people joke about it, but it's a real thing. He said, "You know what really matters to the world? Children, women, and dogs.
That's facts, though. That's facts. It's
A man
sad.
only a man only matters when you're needed the most. Meaning, when I'm not able to make it happen, I need you to. But when I'm able to, I need you when I'm stressed or when I need to talk or when I need something going on. But I don't need you for pretty much a lot of things because it's going to be given to me. Somebody's going to call and say, what do you need? Nobody's ever going to call a man and say, what do you need? You know what I'm saying? They're going to call a woman, a child, or they're going to cater to an animal and be like, they can't speak for themselves, so we got to make sure they're good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Wow.
that's why a lot of people live by the biblical principle, but when they use it, they don't understand what sometimes how disheartening it can be. It says a man that don't eat, a man that don't work, don't eat. You know, so everything towards a man is always being predicated. So it's just that could be for any man, right? But I'm just saying the struggle of it is just being transparency. Whatever weight it already has, it's 10 times harder on a man of color to overcome those thoughts and anxieties and mental health issues to be something for their families.
Oh,
So yeah,
man.
it mean to be so heavy, but the healing
Wow.
is that's where it starts at. It's they hopefully the young men or even women listening, like if I can, like I said, if I say anything else, the healing really starts with helping, like reaching back for someone who doesn't have the answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saying, listen, hey, come stay with me. Sacrifice your comfortability.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To see that someone is going to make it in life. It doesn't always happen that way, but whatever you're able of doing it in that season, in that moment, make yourself available to do that to somebody.
Mm. Man, Jay, that was really powerful. Everything you shared today. I think, my audience, we're growing, and a lot of people are trying to really understand how, you know, how does leaving mama's house as a young white male and going out into the world, why is that so much different than when a black or brown male leaves the house and goes out on his own? Like, it's what you're supposed to do. It's that doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but when you understand the weight behind what's happening structurally, systemically, it's a different it's a different step. It is. It's a different step, and it affects our women too. Like the men are affected in one way and the women are affected in another. But I like that you said if we're willing to reach back. And even I like that you said I like that you pointed out that not a lot of people think to ask men, "Do you need anything? And so how can I provide it?" I think some people are also afraid that to ask is also to offend because it's you know, you don't wanna set a man off too, because some men get offended, like, "Well, you think I can't handle it?" And it's like, "Oh, that's not what I meant." Like, I just wanna everybody needs help. So I just wanna make sure that you're good. And some people do have their guard up when you reach out, which makes some people scared to try the first time or try again if they already had that experience. Um, but I think it's important to know that everyone has their what's the word I'm looking for? Like they have their comfortability when it comes to someone asking. And I think when for those that aren't receptive to being asked, I think it just takes time to build that trust that not everyone is also there to hurt them either. At the same time, for those are there are a lot of men that you'd be surprised that if you were to ask, they'd be like, "Wow." Just like, "Man, no one's ever asked me that question." And they receive it really well. I've seen it happen both ways. The level of shock. It's also sad, the level of shock that you would see on a man's face when someone's just like, "You look like you might need either someone to talk to or something might be going on. Is there anything I can do to assist you?" And they just kind of look at you like, did I hear that right? Because I don't think I've never heard that before. So I'm just make sure you said what I thought you said. And you'd be surprised how many people actually lean into that. So I'm glad that you brought that up in the sense that it's okay to ask for help. It's also okay to receive help that's extended to you, because that can be hard for a lot of people, but collectively, black and brown men do have a difficult time with the idea that someone's genuinely actually asking them for if they need help.
Well, and it's because the disappointment is there's always a reason.
Right. What do you want?
Whether people want to whether people want to admit that, it doesn't matter. That's why I said it's probably an issue all across the board for every race of male. But with black men, I think we get so prideful. And when somebody tries to help us, it's because the stigma has been for so long that I can't do nothing without somebody giving me something.
Mm.
And then when you try to go make something out of yourself, and along the way you're having mostly it's financial troubles, you don't know, the person doesn't know to what level you might need the financial assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So it will cripple you mentally to say, I think they won't understand how bad I need help. So it just messes with your pride and your emotions. That's why a lot of men deal with pride. Because they don't know if a person can actually handle how much help they actually need.
Yeah.
They don't know if it's financially, emotionally, spiritually. The misfortune is we're human beings. I think most times it's going to be at least, I'll go out on a limb and say 40% of the time it's going to be financial. The other 60 could be predicated on a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
And so black men are more prone to saying, why even try to ask for help when all they're going to do is ask? Well, why are you asking for help? Because it says in the Bible, a man who don't work, don't eat. It didn't say children or women. So they're gonna make sure the children have something to eat because they didn't ask to be here. They're gonna make sure women have something to eat because somebody has to nurture the children. So that's why I was like, it's good to know the Bible, but some of those different things I think trigger, or the illusion of it is sometimes set in a precedent way that can be misleading.
Mm.
But I think God's natural intent for that was saying, like, if you're not spending time with me so I can show you how to work and how to be diligent and how to get connected to me, you won't be able to eat my blessings or have the things that I want for you. You can go out and borrow, but you won't be able to be a lender, you know? I think that's what God was trying to naturally speak on how to be a lender as a man. And it's just like, when you spend your time being a borrower, it just makes it look worse because he already knew how a man would be viewed because of how he set his precedent when he left. He said, I'm going to leave a man to lead the household, to be a father, to be the leader, to teach and plant seeds. Because women are nurturers and they take care of whatever you sow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Man.
yeah.
Jay, man, I appreciate you having this conversation with me and my listeners. Um, how can people either reach out to you, talk with you, follow your music?
That's a good question. So I'm revamping a lot of things, but you can still find me on Spotify at JAE space Emmanuel EMANUEL. The same as for Apple Music and YouTube. I am revamping a lot of different things so people can follow me on my website, how to get connected to me to work, because I will be having job offering opportunities real soon for people to work with me. And I teach people about mental health, educating other people how to live with it, how to get through it, and doing business type different things with just people, building a community, people coming together. That is my focus and goal. That's how you can find me with that name. You can type it in anywhere and you'll be able to find me on the music spectrum. And that is the same for my social media outlets on Facebook. My personal one is still connected to a lot of it, but I am trying to get people to go more to my music page. Of course, like I said, after everything is revamped. But you can see my personal, how transparent I am on who I am and how I want people to feel. Not only my perspective on life, but how I want people to feel love. That's my objective in life. So that's why I'm revamping. Because God is showing me, like, I keep trying to ask people for help, reaching out to different artists. Because that's a struggle too. Just to let y'all know, for artists, I've reached out to probably 10 different major artists, B-listers, C-listers of saying, hey, I'm a singer. I got a song I want to write with you. I don't have all the whole thing together, but I want to work with you to help me build and be more confident in who I am. But I'm realizing you can only do what you know to do. And when God sees you being faithful to that, that's when he's going to elevate you. So that's why when I say restructure, I've had some success early on, met a few people, things like that, but I'm now encouraged and motivated to be more than just a record label now. I get to be a brand, a business, and I get to be people. I get to see where people are and bless their lives. So that's my motivation right now. Yeah.
I love it. Guys, please go listen to his music. I've already listened to it. It's amazing. So highly recommend listening to his music on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and keep following what's going on with his record label. I think a lot of really cool things are going to start to unfold for you. So thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If there are any topics, any guests that you want on my show, send me a DM. You can also go on my website at www.firstpaso.com and you can actually fill out the guest application. And if you get accepted, you could always be interviewed on my show. So go ahead and fill that out. You can follow me on social media at Candace Olushala. And you can also text me at 859-800-3396. I love hearing from you guys and just chatting with you guys. I literally respond to all my texts. So please hit me up in my phone. So otherwise, guys, thank you again. You guys are awesome. Please stay safe. Rona out here, Listeria is out here. Y'all, it's a hot mess. So keep it together. Keep washing your hands. Don't be crazy. But please continue to connect with people. Let people know that you love them, that you cherish them, and that you're willing to be a helping hand when they need it. So love you guys. Jay, we'll talk soon, bro.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.